Hello everyone, my name is Dratnos, and welcome to Mythic Loom'ithar. Not a whole lot of changes on this fight between the lower difficulties and Mythic. A lot more health is the main thing, which means you're going to have to do the fight for longer and do the last phase with a lot more of your space denied. The tank frontals do need to each hit a web tangle in a different one of these webs. Obviously hit one of the ones in the inner ring first, kill that one, and then the one in the outer ring. Something that's really important here is there's a bait that comes out right now, and it's going to put circles under, I believe, ranged DPS or ranged players, and you're going to want to make sure to not pollute the middle ground like we just did there, where you wanted to escape. Because that's the natural place to be standing, where you're waiting for the tangle to be destroyed, is right along your path. Really good if you can have your people baiting away from there, and instead baiting like right under the middle of the hitbox, and then run out together after you put all the circles there. It'll be a lot safer that way. Not a huge deal, but that is something to look for. That's one of those things that is actually nice. The other mythic mechanic on this fight is that there are 4 pylons channeling into the boss, but they activate in a random order and at a different amount. So it starts off with, I believe, 1 the first time, and then 2, 2, 3, 3, and then 4 for the rest of the phase anytime they activate. It's only a phase 1 mechanic, but you have those 4 world markers, and what you want to do, if you use the liquid recoras, you can set it up where you have the liquid pylon start, liquid pylon end, and this is just the people next to star are soaking star first and then third and then fifth, every odd numbered set, and then these people are doing it every even numbered set, and then same for the other world markers. You don't know which pylons are activating each time they activate, so just always go, if it's your turn, to your location until you see that yours isn't activating. Like this time around, triangle's activating, and so we have a hunter there, one of these two, soaking that one, with the other one in front, ready to soak it as needed. Sometimes that's going to be right where the tank wants to aim the tank frontal, in which case the tank just takes over and becomes the soaker of that pylon for the remainder of the set. It doesn't do too much damage, even if you get some of that vulnerability, especially if somehow you're a tank and need to do it 4 times in a row. You're a tank, so that's fine. You're allowed to do that. Everybody else isn't really. The main thing with the webs then is just put them right up against the old webs as best you can. And that does fall on the tanks as well, to break the web tangles that are right next to the old webs. So you can see right here, my other tank has put down that ping to indicate, okay, I'm breaking this one. And then there's a dragon that's in the way that's going to hopefully move out of the way. And then this is going to hit that tangle, and that's going to mean that the way out that people will run will naturally mean that any of the webbed people will be able to easily drop those webs right where we want them to be. And as long as you do that, there's really not too much danger here. You do want to escape this phase sooner rather than later. Every web you drop is less space for P2, and the more tightly you can compact them, the better your phase 2 will be as well for the same amount of time spent in P1. And also later in P1, you get more of those pylons. So the initial strat on this fight looked like it was less P2, but we actually were just lusting P1. Liquid did it by accident on their kill, and we were like, yeah, that probably looks good, and killed it fairly quickly as well as a result. Not quite the one shot, but fairly close. I think we 5-shot this boss or something, so is something that I think the phase 1 less is a little better. Your mileage may vary if you have people in your guild yelling about it. Just go with whoever's more annoying to argue with rather than actually worrying too much about it, because I'm sure it's not a big deal. You can do either one, but that's what I would recommend at least. Again, you can see that those swirlies being baited in a little bit suboptimal of a way there. Not a big deal. Now at this point, 56% on the boss HP. You could make the call to commit on the next time that these webs are coming in, right? 55% now, which is possible. That's something where you have to kind of decide as a team what the right percentage is. I think at 53%, I would make the call to commit in retrospect. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we did here make the call to commit. So here, we're hitting them with the tank frontal, but the boss is going to phase at 50, and it will delete all of the remaining mechanics there of phase 1. So as long as you get to 50, once this boss starts that stage 2 cast, all the phase 1 stuff goes away. So a little close there, but not too bad. Now here we have basically a hemisphere of the room. Half of the room is full of webs on the wall, and the other half is completely pristine, right? So what we want to do now is fill up the polluted area a little bit more, and then spend the rest of the fight going into that safe area. So we aim a frontal towards purple, and then the next one is going to be aimed towards triangle, and these we have roughly as melee and then ranged soaks of these. And this one is just going to be the range soak coming up here on me, aimed at triangle. And again, we just want to have the boss on this side because the boss is dropping stuff under it, and that we want to be filling up this area here. It's a little bit sketchy right now, but doing it this way is helping us pollute a part of the room that we then will never have to come back to. Every time you get pushed back in this phase, you do get this spread mechanic on Mythic, so this is a pretty lethal part here, because you can get pushed into webs, but by doing it this way, we've created more space for ourselves for the rest of the phase. If you have lust in this phase, if you have more gear, you don't have to do that. But by paying this upfront cost, we basically have generated for ourselves a bunch of time in the rest of the room here. And we just have to make sure now to not get pushed back into each other, to be courteous to our melee, make sure that ranged are letting the melee stay in melee, and the melee are kind of spreading nicely around the boss. A good thing to try and do with this is also try and make sure that as the boss is casting this frontal, it's not got the puddle right under it, because that puddle will continue to grow as it's casting that frontal and will then be such that melee start getting ticked by it, which is not good. It would probably be better to move the boss maybe 5 or 10 yards more towards the edge of the room here. Obviously, it's nice to have some space towards the edge of the room that you can soak in. And here you can see this soak is actually happening while melee are getting ticked. But yeah, I've pulled the boss a little bit more towards the edge of the room, just because if you have it too close to the center, you're going to too quickly get to the other side. But again, these considerations are... I'm not sure what the best answer is. It's not that precise of a fight. As long as you have everybody alive here doing full damage, especially in future weeks, as you have more gear, which I think by the time this video is going to come out, it's going to be week 2 anyways, you should be completely fine. If you're reaching this boss, if you kill Plexus Sentinel in any reasonable time frame, I think you're... I mean, this boss is definitely a tighter check than Plexus Sentinel, but... if you are killing Plexus Sentinel like before the 3rd intermission, I think this is definitely not a fight you have to worry too much about optimizing. And maybe in that point, you actually move the lust back to P2 so you can do this with more people dead. Because P2 definitely does fill up the room quicker with the mechanics. I just think P1 is maybe a little harder, so it's good to get out of it faster. Your mileage may vary, though. You can definitely play this fight with 3/4 or the whole room having webs around the edge, and it's still fine. If you have all your cooldowns, you just delete the boss in the 2nd phase. That could be good too. Here's something I'm doing is during this pushback, now that the spread mechanic, we don't have much space, I'm just going to stand in the gunk instead to make it so that there's more spaces for the squishy people to go. Oh, and a big thing to note, if you have your pull looking like ours here, if you have fewer than 5 people in that frontal soak, the boss will gain a shield, a massive absorb shield. So even if it's going to kill some people, you should make sure to be in this last soak here, right? You see, we have a lot of people who already have the debuff. Just stand in front of the boss, get in this last soak, because the only way we could wipe from here is if the boss got that absorb shield. So that may happen for you as well. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.